she was going to be a star one day. The 15-year-old from Melbourne had the looks and the passion to be a dancer or a model. She was tall. They described her elfin-featured with brilliant emerald eyes. Even though she was shy, she loved to perform, and she was a promising student at the Dance Factory in Richmond. Off the stage, Rachel was unexpectedly shy, like I said, especially with those people that she didn't know, like me. She had loving parents named Elizabeth and Michael, and two little sisters, Heather and Ashley Rose. And at the time, a devoted boyfriend named Manny Carella. She was also friends with a woman called Caroline Reed Robertson. Caroline was 4 years older than Rachel, and they met because Ashley Rose, Rachel's little sister, was a good friend of Caroline's younger sister, Kate. Well, until they did what most teenagers do and had a fight. Now, Caroline was older than Rachel, and she often babysat the Barber girls. And Caroline saw what it seemed to be the perfect home, the perfect family. She described Rachel's life as white picket fence in her journals that were discovered later. Elizabeth Barber, the mom, she was warm and charismatic. She had a house that was just brimming with friends and visitors. Her 3 daughters, slim, attractive, and talented. Heather played the violin, Ashley Rose played the flute, and Rachel danced. The creative gene ran through the family. As well, Michael is a toy maker and a painter, and Elizabeth a writer. The Barber family, like most families, battled financially, but they'd moved from the country so that Rachel could pursue her dream and was allowed to leave her school when she was 15. At the time, she was graceful, charming, loud, and naive, they said. Now, Caroline hated herself and her own life. She had always been ostracized. She was described as a nondescript type of girl, not fashionable. She was overweight and had a pretty depressed disposition. She had such a bleak outlook on life that, according to a psychologist that evaluated her, she once painted and hung a portrait of herself that was completely black. Those nights of babysitting the Barber girls, where Caroline would stew on her own lot in life and resent Rachel's life while also coveting it, formed a plan. Now, Rachel, the tiny dancer, seemed to have it all: talent, good looks, and popularity. In Caroline's mind, Rachel could have been one of those models or entertainers that graced the cover of glossy magazines. Now, like the tiny little grub, desperate to transform into a butterfly, Caroline, who described herself in some of her writings as a pizza face with brown oily hair and no coordination, desired to be Rachel. In fact, during her trial, Supreme Court Judge Justice Frank Vincent would say, Caroline harbored an abnormal, almost obsessional interest in the chosen younger girl. The infatuated Caroline once asked Michael and Elizabeth if she could photograph Rachel for a project she was working on. Very creepy, if you ask me. But the project was to plot her murder. The night of Sunday, February 28th, 1999, was the last night that the Barber family spent together. Rachel spoke to someone on the phone, and wasn't until later that they realized that it was Caroline who had called. Caroline tricked Rachel into meeting her the next evening after dance class, offering the younger girl $100 to take part in a psychology study. The only catch was she had to keep this meeting a secret. Rachel had no idea that this offer was part of Caroline's premeditated and elaborate plan to lure Rachel to her apartment in order to kill her and take over her life. In a journal that they found in Caroline's apartment, like I mentioned earlier, she had detailed her plan. She wrote, "On the way to dance school, say that she can't tell anyone she's meeting me, as I'm not allowed to give the study results to anyone. Highly confidential. Not even your boyfriend/parent. Drug Rachel. Put body in army bags. Disfigure and dump somewhere way out." Another entry read, "Check farm, including bag. Tuesday arrange bank loan. Moving van. Night to disguise hair. Thoroughly clean the house and steam clean the carpet." This brings us to the early morning of March 1st, 1999. Rachel went to dance school, and this was the last time her father ever saw her alive. He brought her to a tram stop on the corner of Riverdale and Elgar Road so she could get to Richmond. They parted at about 9:30, and she agreed to meet with him at this stop in the evening, about 6:15 or so. Rachel was kind of guarded that day, telling her dance classmates that she had a job that night, and her friends assumed it was a modeling job. Her boyfriend Manny questioned her about it, and she told him, "Don't worry about it." And he thought it was really strange that she was so secretive about it, because usually she told him everything. Around 5:45, Rachel left her classmates to catch the tram with Caroline. In line with her promise to keep their plans a secret, Rachel didn't tell anyone, only that she would be back at the tram terminal to meet her dad at 6:15. Not a lot of time. When the two teenagers got to Caroline's apartment, they ate some pizza together. Court documents claim later that Rachel's pizza may have been drugged. Caroline then convinced her to do some mediation as the part of a psychology study, asking her to think of happy, pleasant things. It is believed that it was at this time that she placed the telephone cord around Rachel's neck and strangled her to death. Rachel's parents sounded the alarm for her that very evening as soon as she did not appear at the agreed meeting place from where they were supposed to pick her up. Sorry, that airplane threw me off. As early as March 2nd, when it became apparent that Rachel was indeed missing, the police began a full-scale reconstruction of the events of that day. A huge number of people were interrogated, from boyfriend to students and even passerbys on the street. It was revealed that at 5:30, after school ended, Rachel left the school with friends, walked with them down Church Street to Bridge Road, and here she said goodbye to them, and at 5:45 she walked on. Rachel then met Caroline Reed Robertson, her old friend, and together they boarded the tram. Another dance factory student who rode the same tram on that evening later told police she remembered Rachel looking very beautiful, and that she was just amazing looking compared to her friend who seemed like a simpleton. The next day, Caroline left Rachel in her wardrobe and went to work. Appearing pale and sick, she was excused from work and driven back home. After recouping some money that she was owed from a friend, she also called in sick the following day. And her father heard that was sick and came over, and Caroline kind of shut the door when he came into the room because she didn't want him to know that Rachel's body was hidden in her wardrobe. After he left, she wrapped Rachel in 2 rugs, put her in an army bag, and hired a truck. She told the driver that she was moving a sculpture and traveled with him to her father's farm in Gilmore, where she buried Rachel in a shallow grave beside her cat that she had buried years earlier. She then applied for a $10,000 bank loan in order to begin her new life. Little did she know the police were on to her by now, and they were in the process of linking her to the disappearance of Rachel via phone records. The barbers, when questioned, said she was a family acquaintance, but it was enough of a connection that it had to be investigated, especially because she called the night before. Caroline continued to miss further days of work, calling in sick each time. She was waiting on this bank loan to be approved so she could get out of Dodge. Friday, March 12th. A missing persons unit found Caroline Robertson unconscious on her bedroom floor. It was believed that she had a seizure, and while they were waking her up and questioning her, in another room, police found a bag containing some of Rachel's clothes and an application for a Victorian birth certificate in the name of Rachel Elizabeth Barber. Caroline was taken to the hospital, where she caved and told a detective that Rachel was dead and buried next to an old pet of hers on her father's farm in Gilmore. With the help of Caroline's father, David, detectives found Rachel with the makeshift garrote still wrapped around her neck. In addition, while detectives were searching Caroline's apartment, they found the diaries that I previously mentioned. She wrote in them the strikingly attractive body of a dancer, very clean, fair skin, hypnotic green eyes, dyed hair of different colors. She describes Rachel, and then she reflects on her desire to disfigure her. Caroline went to trial, and the judge presiding over the case told Caroline at the sentence hearing that Rachel was vulnerable to such an approach, as you were known to her as a family friend and, at one time, a babysitter, whose motives she never would have suspected. Indeed, what normal young person could have contemplated the terrible existence of such a chilling design, or that she was the subject of such hatred? I have no doubt that you appreciated the combination of a slightly adventurous but harmless secrecy and the prospect of obtaining what she referred to as a heap of money that would enable her to purchase some shoes that took her fancy and that would have been very attractive to a person of her age and apparent temperament. He further added, "For my part, I find the deliberation and malevolence with which you acted extremely disturbing." Psychologist Dr. Michael Crudenson, who treated Caroline in jail, said that she revealed that prior to taking Rachel's life, Rachel's fate had not been decided. There is a poignant and disturbing moment in which Rachel Barber's fate seemed to waver in the balance. Caroline told me she'd been in a daze, and then just for a moment the veil lifted, and she didn't want to do it, but something said that I was in so much trouble now that I had to, and it was as though the veil had dropped again. Caroline was diagnosed with a deeply entrenched personality disorder, which Judge Vincent believed contributed to her conduct. It is unknown whether she sought professional help for this while incarcerated. In January of 2015, Caroline was released from Deer Park's Dame Village Nicholas Frost Prison after serving 15 years of her 20-year sentence. She, allegedly, has never expressed any remorse for her crime. And perhaps most chilling of all, Caroline drastically changed her physical appearance while in prison. And when Rachel's mother saw Caroline for the first time after, she thought she looked like someone else. Her daughter. That really creeped me out. As I researched this case, I found an article that shared a letter from Rachel Barber's little sister Heather, and I will link that down below, but I would also like to read it to you now. It says, "Dear Rachel, blowing out the candles on my 15th birthday cake. I could see your smiling face when I closed my eyes. I had just one wish. I want you here," I whispered. "You were my big sister and should have been by my side. The day I turned 15, the age that you were when you were taken from us, you would have been 21. Instead, you'll be forever a teenager, torn from our family by someone we trusted. Growing up, I always admired you. You lived to perform every day. You would direct plays for me and our sister Ashley Rose, age 11, to appear in. Our parents, Michael and Elizabeth, would watch, cheering at the end. You were a star, shining brightly wherever you went. But when I was 9, everything changed. I remember that afternoon as if it was yesterday. Love you, Mom, you chirped as you raced off to dance rehearsal. After class, you were due to catch the tram straight home, but as the hours ticked by, there was still no sign of you. Slowly, an unsettling tension gripped our home. Where were you? It wasn't like you to be late. Rachel's missing. Mom panicked. I was only 9, but deep down I knew you were in danger. Mom and Dad scoured the streets with the police, our friends and family. Thousands of posters of you were put up all over Melbourne. Back home, all I wanted was for you to come back. Where were you? And then 12 days later, we got the news from the police. Mom and Dad didn't say a word. The tears in their eyes told me everything. She's dead, isn't she? I whispered. Rachel's been murdered by a family friend, they explained. Ashley Rose was absolutely hysterical, and Mom and Dad were drowning in a sea of sorrow. For me, the pain of losing you was crippling. I couldn't speak, I couldn't move, I couldn't even cry. The days that passed were a blur of faces, police officers, relatives, journalists, who had taken you from us. When Mom mentioned the name Caroline Reed Robertson, I was so confused. Caroline was a family friend, and she'd been our babysitter when we were young, but we hadn't seen or heard from her in years. Did people think she'd killed you? That had to be a mistake. I was quite young when she used to take care of us, but I do remember she was really quiet and a little odd. How could she be capable of such a thing? But then the police arrested Caroline for your murder, and we were shocked. At the time, I was too young to realize what really happened when you were taken from us. Our parents tried to shield Ashley Rose and me from the details, but we couldn't escape the newspaper articles and the whispers at school. Over time, I started to piece together the story. While our parents trusted Caroline, then 19, she'd been leading a double life. Police found her diary revealing the sick plan to kill you. She had developed an abnormal obsession with you. She envied your personality, beauty, and family. Strikingly attractive, dancer's body, hypnotic green eyes, wild, free spirit, she'd written. Caroline desperately wanted to be you, and had even applied for your birth certificate a few days before you went missing. She'd asked you to take part in that study. You went to her flat to help, and it was there that she did the unthinkable. She drugged you before she strangled you with a telephone cord and dumped your body in a closet. My poor sister, you must have been so frightened. It breaks my heart to think of the pain that you suffered. Your body was discovered at a property belonging to Caroline's father. When the police interviewed her, she confessed everything. It was an accident, she told the officer. I killed her. She planned to adopt a new identity. Her diary revealed one of the names she considered was Jim Southall, which is Mom's maiden name. She killed you because she wanted to be you. In November 2000, a year after you were murdered, Caroline Reed Robertson, age 21, pled guilty to murder. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison, a minimum jail sentence of 14 and a half years. Although Caroline's jailing brought some comfort, our family struggles to live without you. As I drowned my sadness in music, Mom found writing about your story helped deal with her loss. Most nights I heard her crying and Dad trying to console her while dealing with his own pain. Ashley Rose and I tried to support each other, and as I grew up, people started to say I look like you. It's sad, but also comforting to know that, in a way, you're still with me. 3 years after you died, Mom wrote a book, The Perfect Victim, about what we'd been through. Soon after it was released, we were approached by film directors. We want to make a movie about Rachel's story, one proposed. Talking it over, we realized it could be the chance to give you a voice from beyond the grave. We were involved in every step, from seeing the script to meeting the crew on set. Guy Pearce was cast as Dad, Miranda Otto played Mom, and when we sat down with Kate Bell, the girl who'd been given the role of Rachel, it was really emotional. She looked just like you. The film, I Am You, came out the same month Caroline was eligible for parole. We'd hoped that the movie would make people realize someone capable of such a twisted crime should stay behind bars. Thanks to public outcry, Caroline's release was delayed. It's a huge relief. Touched by her story, Guy Pearce played piano as I performed Angel by Sarah McLachlan as a tribute to you, my sweet sister. You're in the arms of the angels. May you find some comfort here, I sang. Rachel, we miss you so much. You're forever our shining star. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I feel bad for the Barber family that this happened to them. There are people out there willing to take advantage of weaknesses that they spot, and I honestly think that in some ways the healthcare system really failed this family and Caroline. If she had received treatment prior to any of this happening, this could have been avoided. I understand. Okay, we're gonna get emotional here. I understand. I was Caroline. I was chunky. I had acne. I remember hearing people laugh at me because of my acne. I moved so many times when I was small. I never made friends that I could keep. And then, we moved, we came back, we left, we came back, and all my friends had gone on without me and made other friends and cliques and groups, and I hated it. And it was hard. It's hard to be on the outside looking in, wishing you were a part of all of that. But eventually I did find other friends, and I'm not going to say my acne cleared up because I got this big old thing on my chin right now. I wish it would, but wearing a mask doesn't help. But she had this personality disorder that I could never exactly pin down whatever it was, but there's help for that. It wasn't that she was just wanting to kill her just to kill her. Like, that wasn't it. And I think that the moment of hesitation also shows that she could have potentially been redeemed. I do understand looking at someone else's life and wanting to be them instead of yourself, but you have to realize that what goes on behind closed doors is not necessarily what you see. She saw the white picket fence and the three sisters in the great time, but I guarantee you all of those people fought. Man, my sister and I fight all the time. there is no excuse for taking someone else's life, and she clearly plotted to do so, but it's just so unnecessary. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you next week for another video. I do have a new series going on my Patreon. If you're interested, the link is in the description box down below. Once again, I want to tell you all thank you for checking out my merchandise. A couple of you actually purchased Geekwares shirts, and that makes me so happy. I'm waiting on mine to arrive, and then we can be little geeklings together. If you haven't checked that out, please go to the description box down below and let me know what you think, or email me if you have any ideas for other shirts that you would like to see. I'm always open to expanding our variety. Thank you. I love you. I bless you.